Do you know what happens between 3 and 5 a.m.? While the world sleeps, destiny whispers and only a few are awake enough to hear it. Most people think success is built during the day, but the truth is, your life is rewritten in the silence before sunrise. That's the hour when distractions die, when excuses fade, and when the strongest version of you wakes up. So today I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to shake you, because the version of you that keeps hitting snooze, that version has no idea what it's costing you. Do you know what happens between 3 and 5 a.m.? While the world sleeps, destiny whispers. Most people will never hear it because they're too busy dreaming someone else's dream. But the ones who do wake up, who rise in the darkness, who walk alone while the rest of the world rests, those are the ones who change everything. Between 3 and 5 a.m., there's a strange kind of silence that doesn't exist at any other time. It's not emptiness, it's power, it's possibility. It's the quiet before the storm of your potential. It's that sacred, unfiltered hour where your mind isn't reacting, it's creating. The energy of the world is still. The noise hasn't begun. And in that stillness, you can finally hear the sound of your own truth. There's something profoundly raw about those early hours. Something that strips away the performance we wear during the day. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to prove. You just have to be. When you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., you enter a space where your thoughts aren't diluted by anyone else's opinions. It's you and your heartbeat. It's you and your purpose. And for the first time, you start to see the distance between the person you are and the person you're meant to become. In that hour, you can feel it, that burning pull inside you that says, there's more. That quiet whisper that has been trying to reach you through the chaos of every ordinary day finally has a voice. And if you're still enough to listen, it tells you exactly where to go next. Your mind, in those hours, is unlike it is at any other point in the day. Psychologists call it the alpha state. A state between wake and sleep where your brain becomes a canvas. Whatever you feed it then, thoughts, affirmations, visions, sinks deep into your subconscious. This is the time when you can rewrite the script you've been living by. The one that says, I'm not enough, or I'll start later, or maybe someday. Between 3 and 5 a.m., those lies lose power. You're no longer negotiating with the world, you're negotiating with your own potential. You begin to realize that the walls around you were never real, they were built by belief. And belief is something you can reprogram. Each morning you wake in that silence. You're not just getting up early, you're stepping into your own evolution. Most people will never experience what it's like to wake up at that hour because they've built their lives around comfort. But comfort never made anyone extraordinary. There's a price for greatness, and one of its currencies is solitude. The silence that scares people. That's where transformation hides. You have to be brave enough to face yourself without distraction. To sit in that stillness and ask, what do I really want? What am I afraid to admit? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? And between 3 and 5 a.m., you can't hide from those questions. And you shouldn't want to, because clarity only comes when the noise stops. And in that clarity, you find direction. You find power. You find the truth that daytime distractions have buried. There's an ancient belief that between 3 and 5 a.m., the human spirit connects most deeply with the universe, that this is the hour when intuition sharpens, when creativity awakens, when answers appear that have been hiding all along. Whether you believe in science or spirituality, the outcome is the same. The early hours align you with something bigger than yourself. You're not just planning your day, you're programming your destiny. You start to feel gratitude without reason. You start to sense possibilities without proof. It's not magic, it's awareness. And awareness changes everything. The same world that looked impossible yesterday suddenly feels full of open doors. And that's because in that moment of alignment, you're no longer waiting for permission to rise. You've already risen. But let me be honest, it's not easy. Waking up that early is a rebellion against your comfort zone. Your body will resist. Your mind will negotiate. It will whisper, just a few more minutes. But those few minutes are where dreams die. Because if you surrender to comfort, you lose connection to purpose. You're not waking up early because it's fashionable. You're doing it because that's when your future self calls your name. That's when your inner strength sharpens, your ideas grow wings, and your fear finally has to face the light. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. That voice inside that says, I can do more, I can be more. And one day you'll look back and realize that it wasn't just an hour, it was the hour that changed your life. So yes, between 3 and 5 a.m. the world sleeps. But you rise. You rise not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. You rise because you've had enough of waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, the convenient time. You rise because you've decided to listen to that quiet force within you that says, wake up, your time is now. Every morning you meet yourself before sunrise, you're building discipline, character, and unshakable self-belief. That's how you start winning. Not in public, but in the private hours where no one's watching. Because the truth is, the world doesn't reward those who sleep through their purpose. It rewards those who rise for it. Wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. Not because you have to, but because you're ready to meet the version of yourself that the world hasn't seen yet. That's where transformation begins. Not in daylight, but in the darkness you dare to rise from. Discipline, the word that makes some people roll their eyes and others rise to greatness. The truth is, discipline isn't punishment, it's power. It's not about waking up early just to brag about it or sticking to routines for the sake of control. Discipline is about freedom, the kind of freedom that comes when you no longer live at the mercy of your moods. When you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., it's not the clock that matters, it's the commitment. You're telling the world, I decide how my day begins. That's not a small thing, that's everything. Because if you can control the first hour of your day, you can control your direction, your energy, and ultimately, your destiny. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's not supposed to be. It's gritty, it's unshakable, and it's the invisible foundation under every visible success you've ever admired. Every successful person you've ever looked up to didn't get there by accident. They didn't stumble into greatness, they structured it. They built habits so strong that motivation became optional. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is forever. It doesn't care if you're tired, bored, or uninspired. Discipline shows up even when you don't feel like it, and that's exactly why it changes everything. When you wake up before dawn, when you sit with your thoughts, when you put in the work while others rest, that's the purest form of power. Because you're not competing with anyone else anymore, you're competing with your own limits. Every time you win that silent battle, you build something extraordinary, self-respect, and that's the real reward. Because once you respect yourself, you'll stop settling for anything less than excellence. Discipline isn't a skill you're born with, it's a muscle you build. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. Every time you push past the comfort of your pillow, the temptation of excuses, or the pool of procrastination, you get stronger. The first few mornings will feel like war. Your mind will tell you that you deserve to rest. That one more hour won't matter, that you can start tomorrow. That's the voice of mediocrity, and it's seductive. But when you silence it with action, you begin to change the wiring of your mind. You start proving to yourself that you are not your impulses. You are your intentions. The difference between the ordinary and the exceptional is not talent. It's consistency. It's doing what you said you would do long after the excitement of saying it has faded. You see, discipline doesn't steal joy, it gives you mastery. It allows you to be in charge of your energy, your thoughts, your future. Think about it. When you choose discipline, you stop living reactively. You stop letting the day control you, and you start controlling the day. That's the power most people never tap into because they mistake discipline for restriction. But what if I told you discipline is the purest form of self-love? Because every time you choose to do what's right over what's easy, you're honoring your future self. You're saying, I care about who I'm becoming. That's love in action. Discipline doesn't drain you, it refines you. It chisels away distraction, laziness, and fear until what's left is clarity, strength, and peace. Yes, peace. Because when your actions align with your vision, you stop feeling guilty, anxious, and lost. You feel grounded. You feel powerful. Discipline is not a morning routine, it's a life philosophy. It bleeds into every decision you make. What you eat, how you speak, how you treat others, how you treat yourself. It's about honoring your word, even when no one's watching. Because integrity and discipline are twins. You can't have one without the other. If you can't trust yourself to follow through on your own promises, how can you expect the world to trust you with greater opportunities? The reason people stay stuck isn't lack of opportunity. It's lack of discipline. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. So if your habits are weak, your results will be too. The moment you decide that your goals deserve more than your excuses, everything changes. Discipline isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to keep showing up. And let's be real, it's not supposed to be easy. You'll have days when you feel like quitting, when the world feels heavy, when progress seems invisible. But discipline is what carries you through those days. It's the voice that says, I'm not done yet. It's the quiet fire that burns even when the world goes cold. Success doesn't arrive on a schedule, it arrives for those who are still standing when everyone else has given up. That's what discipline gives you, endurance. The ability to outlast doubt, delay, and disappointment. Because discipline doesn't demand that you be fearless, it only asks that you keep moving, that you show up one more time and then one more. And every time you do, the impossible becomes possible. You see, every time you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., you're not just starting your day, you're proving something to yourself. You're proving that you have power over comfort, that your dreams mean more than your excuses, that your purpose outweighs your pain. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. It's not glamorous, but it's sacred. Because when you look back years from now, it won't be the easy mornings or the comfortable choices that define you. It'll be the mornings you rose while the world slept, the moments you chose action over comfort, and the times you kept going when it made no sense to. That's where greatness is born. In quiet moments of relentless discipline. Indiscipline is not a prison, it's the key to freedom, to mastery, to a life you're proud to wake up to. So wake up early, stay consistent, and remember, success doesn't belong to the talented, it belongs to the disciplined. At 3 a.m., the world is asleep. The lights are dim, the streets are silent, and the noise that fills your mind during the day finally fades away. It's just you, your thoughts, and the quiet hum of your own existence. In that moment, there's a power most people never experience, the power of solitude, the kind that strips away the layers of expectation, pressure, and pretense. During the day, we play roles, worker, friend, parent, dreamer. But in the stillness of early morning, those roles fall away. You meet yourself without filters, without noise, without an audience. That's where true growth begins. Not in the crowd, not under the spotlight, but in the silence you've been too afraid to face. The power of solitude isn't about being alone, it's about being connected to yourself, to your truth, to the whispers you ignore when the world gets too loud. There's something sacred about those hours before sunrise. They belong to no one else but you. When you wake up early, you step into a rare pocket of time that the rest of the world wastes. No messages, no notifications, no demands, just clarity. That's when your inner voice becomes audible, and it doesn't whisper about what others expect of you. It reminds you of who you are. In solitude, you start hearing the questions you've been avoiding. What am I really doing? Why am I settling? What do I want from this life? These questions don't show up to torment you, they show up to awaken you. Because in silence you can't hide behind distraction anymore. You can't scroll past your truth, you can't drown it in noise. You must confront it, feel it, and rebuild from it. That's what solitude demands, honesty. And that honesty is what will save you. Most people fear being alone because it forces them to face what they've been avoiding. But that's exactly where your breakthrough lives, in the discomfort of your own company. Solitude reveals what noise conceals. It's in those quiet hours that you realize how much of your identity has been shaped by others, by expectations, opinions, comparisons. You start to see how often you've been performing instead of living. You start to understand that the crowd can celebrate you one day and forget you the next, but your relationship with yourself, that's eternal. When you can sit in silence and still feel peace, you've mastered something most people never will. You've learned that validation is an illusion and that solitude is strength, not loneliness. Because loneliness is the absence of others, solitude is the presence of yourself. In solitude, creativity awakens. The greatest ideas, inventions, and movements weren't born in chaos, they were born in quiet rooms, early mornings and late nights, in the presence of solitude. The world glorifies busyness, but brilliance lives in stillness. When you wake up at 3 a.m., you enter the rare space where your mind isn't reacting, it's creating. You stop consuming and start producing. Your thoughts are uninterrupted, your imagination untamed. You begin to connect dots that didn't seem related before. You start to see solutions where others see problems. That's not coincidence, that's the magic of focus. Solitude sharpens your attention. It gives your ideas the room they need to breathe, expand, and evolve. That's why artists, thinkers, and leaders often crave solitude, not because they're antisocial, but because they understand that greatness needs silence to grow. There's also a deeper, emotional truth to solitude. It heals you. The reason people stay busy, constantly surrounded, constantly entertained, is because silence reveals what's unhealed. But here's the thing, what you avoid in silence controls you in noise. The pain you refuse to feel becomes the pattern you repeat. When you give yourself time alone, you give yourself permission to feel, to process, to forgive. You stop running from your past and start learning from it. That's where real healing happens. Not in the noise of distraction, but in the quiet of reflection. You learn that solitude doesn't isolate you from life, it prepares you for it. Because when you can find peace alone, you stop depending on others to give it to you. You become whole, you become grounded, you become unstoppable, but solitude isn't just about peace, it's also about power. When you step away from the noise long enough, you realize how much of your energy has been leaking into things that don't matter. Arguments, gossip, validation, opinions. Solitude teaches you to protect your focus, to say no with conviction, and to say yes with intention. It gives you perspective, the kind that makes you stop chasing attention and start chasing meaning. Because when you truly understand yourself, you stop wasting time proving yourself. You stop trying to be seen and you start trying to make an impact. Solitude gives you the space to design the life you actually want, not the one the world told you to want. And when you step back into the world after spending time in that silence, you walk differently, not louder but stronger, because you know who you are and no amount of noise can shake that anymore. Solitude is not emptiness, it's elevation. It's the sacred space where your spirit breathes, your vision grows, and your purpose becomes unshakable. So the next time you find yourself awake at 3 a.m., don't reach for your phone, reach for your soul. Because the quiet moments you spend alone today will become the strength, the clarity, and the freedom you live with tomorrow. You wake up and before your eyes have even adjusted to the light, your thumb reaches for your phone. You scroll, you watch, you consume, and within seconds, you've already handed over your peace. The first thing you see, someone's success, someone's vacation, someone's perfect life. You compare your behind the scenes to their highlight reel, and suddenly your own life feels smaller. That's how the noise wins. Not because it's loud, but because it's constant. The truth is, most people don't lose focus all at once. They lose it inch by inch, scroll by scroll, distraction by distraction. And every second spent in comparison is a second stolen from creation. The world doesn't need another consumer. It needs creators, thinkers, dreamers, People who choose silence over static, intention over impulse. The noise around you isn't harmless, it's hypnotic. It dulls your ambition and makes mediocrity feel acceptable. And that's why breaking the noise is not optional, it's survival. There's a reason why the early morning hours between 3 and 5 a.m. are so powerful. It's because that's the one time the world is quiet enough for you to think your own thoughts. There are no updates, no texts, no endless opinions, just stillness. And in that stillness, you rediscover your mind. You remember your dreams, your ideas, your potential. It's a time when you can create without competition, focus without interruption, and move without the pressure of being seen. In those hours, you're not chasing anyone, you're building yourself. That silence is sacred because it gives you back something the modern world has stolen: presence. When you choose to be awake while the world sleeps, you disconnect from the noise and reconnect with your essence. You stop reacting and start directing. You stop existing on autopilot and start living by design. Noise is not just sound, it's distraction disguised as connection. It's every unnecessary conversation, every shallow validation, every notification that makes you feel busy but keeps you unproductive. And we live in an age addicted to it. People fear silence because silence exposes what they're running from: their doubts, their fears, their untapped potential. But the truth is, greatness can't grow in noise. Every time you mute the world, you give yourself a chance to hear the voice that actually matters. Your own. That inner voice doesn't shout, it whispers. It's patient, but it's persistent. And the more you listen to it, the stronger it becomes. You begin to realize that peace is not found in more noise, more opinions, or more approval. It's found in clarity. And clarity only arrives when distraction leaves. We've mistaken being connected for being alive. But they're not the same thing. Being connected keeps you informed. Being present